Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a listen to the 50 watt EVH513 amplifier, and we're also going to be comparing how does it sound compared to the uppercase version, the Big Brother 100 watt version that I've already reviewed on the channel. Alright, so first off, a big thanks to my buddy Raph for sending me this amp on such short notice before the Big Brother has to go back to Zounds. What this lets me do is hear these two amps side by side, both through my Splawn cabinet as well as DI into the aux box to see just how much of a difference, if any, that extra power and punch that the 100 watt version dishes up compared to the smaller 50 watt version. So in other words, for the gigging musician that runs a load box for a DI stage sound who can appreciate the smaller footprint that the 50 watt version offers, will the 50 watt version make the cut, or will there still be simply too much power and headroom lost when moving down from the full-size, full-power amp? Now, as someone who has overwhelmingly gigged with 50 watt amps for the last decade and taken about half a dozen demo amps on stage that were all 50 watts or less, I've never really been one to think that I'm missing out on a significant lack of power on stage, even when I'm bringing my 212 cabinet to the stage. Like the Port City 212 is what I typically gig with if I take a 212 on stage. All right, so this 50 watt head features 6L6 tubes, just like the Big Brother, and this is one of the first versions of this amp, and it does not feature the independent controls for the gain and the volume. It shares each of these, and in my opinion, that's a bit of a weakness for this amp compared to this one or the newer 50 watt versions, because the clean channel, the green channel, is very, very low output on this amp if you don't have the gain cranked. And at that point, you're not working with a very clean sound. So that's really the only major knock I have against this. And if you're not really interested in a clean channel, then it's completely a moot point altogether. And the voicing for this amp is also a touch brighter and a bit more gain on tap overall than the original 5153. Okay, so let's hear the blue and red channels of the 50 watt amp first, and then we're going to hear the blue and red channels on the 100 watt version. Right now, they're going into the aux box, running DI into the interface, and once we hear the DI sound, I'm gonna switch and go into the speaker cabinet, and we're going to listen to both of the channels on each of the amps after that. Now, you might notice on the EQ controls for these amps, they're not exactly set the same, and the reason for that is because they don't sound the same. They sound very, very similar, but there are some differences, and what I've attempted to do is to dial in each amp to a sound kind of how I prefer the overall 5153 sound to be for both the blue and the red channels on each of these amps. So that's kind of how we're going to be listening to these amps sound, rather than having both amps set to identical EQ settings. Like, they would be different, not significantly so, but this is just how I prefer to run each of these amps for both of the channels. So that's how we're going to be hearing it. And again, it's not really a focus on so much of the EQ differences, but more of the punch and clarity at high volumes and how much of a difference there is with that. You can get both of these amps sounding identical if you tweak the controls just right, but you can't alter the feel and clarity at certain volumes, and that's what I want to focus on. So one more thing, I'm going to add a note on the screen when I engage the Golden Boy, the clean boost, as well as the green mode, the Tube Screamer high gain drive boost. And I really only use the Tube Screamer mode on the blue channel because if you heard the demo for this, you would know that the green Tube Screamer on the blue channel takes it into extremely high gain modern rock and metal sounds, giving a lot of flexibility just to the blue channel alone. When you add it to the red channel, it's a bit too much and over the top for me personally, and just kind of more saturation than I think most players would use. Certainly if you're on stage, it's a lot of saturation. I mean, you might be one of those guys who uses a ton of gain on stage. If so, more power to you. But I think that just the clean boost on the red channel is more than sufficient for me personally, and probably a lot more players out there. Okay, so as you can hear, there are differences between these two amps, both when connecting to a cabinet and when going DI, and that didn't really surprise me, and I don't think it surprised any of you guys watching, nor did I really expect for it to. What I do think, however, is that if you're not operating these amps on stage with a speaker cabinet at just like head-crushing volumes, the extra punch of the 100-watt version becomes a little bit less noticeable, and the 50-watt version still has a nice, clean, powerful sound that has tons of headroom, and it really only falls behind the 100-watt version once you've got them both really cranked, and at that point the 100 starts to leave the 50 kind of in the dust. Now when you run these two amps DI, the lines do begin to blur a little bit more. You lose the physical impact of that sound coming from the speaker cabinet, and when you're running both of these in the aux box into an FR/FR, the FR/FR operates at a flat 1000 watts, and for mine at least, those FR/FRs, they operate at a flat wattage regardless of whatever amp you're connecting into them. Okay, so who are these two amps for, and which one should you choose if you've really got your heart kind of set on a 5153? I think honestly, if you're a gigging musician and you either don't have the luxury of playing as loud as you want, or you run a DI mix on stage, or a DI combination where you've got a load box doing speaker simulation, but you've also got kind of a companion cabinet on stage, I really think that the 50-watt version is more than adequate and easily something that I could make work on stage. It still delivers all of the killer sounds that its big brother has, but in a more portable form factor, a lower price point, and with the added benefit of having separate volume and gain controls for the green and blue channels. So a bit more flexibility you would have on one of the newer ones compared to this original 50-watt version. And if you play at home where you can really crank the snot out of the amp, kind of like what I do with the cabinet in the closet there, and you just want a big, huge sound, or if you play out with a really loud drummer and another guitar player, especially another guitar player who might also be using a 100-watt amp and a 412, I think that although the 50-watt version could probably hang on stage in that situation, the extra punch in the headroom that the 100-watt version has, it wouldn't really go unnoticed at all. And if it matters to you, you also get a full green channel with its own EQ, its own gain, and its own volume control, again, compared to this one specifically, but also even the 50-watt versions that are newer, they do share the EQ on the green and blue channels, but honestly, I've never really felt lacking in that department. I mean, the SLOs do that also, and nobody complains about that, or at least nobody that I hear of complains about that. So I don't think you're missing out much in that regard, but again, the 100-watt version does have the full EQ for all three channels. If you guys are interested in grabbing either of these amps, I'll have an affiliate link in the video description, as at the time of filming at least, Zounds have a couple of these 50-watt versions at just over $1,000 as factory resealed and blemish models. So you can save a couple $100 and still get that brand new amp with the warranty and all that good stuff. Also worth noting is that they have a couple of discounted 100-watt stilts right now, right around that $2,000 price point, which is where this one tops out at. So if you want the more feature-rich stealth version with a bit more of an aggressive sound overall, you can grab one for right around the same price as this 100-watt original version. Lastly, if you are a Quad Cortex or a Nano Cortex owner, check the video description for a link to my was it Cortex Cloud, Cloud Cortex, whatever it is, where you can grab the newer profiles of both the 100 watt version with the Splawn cabinet, as well as a DI signal that I captured with the aux box up there. So you can use any of your own impulse responses that you like, or the built-in speaker simulation, cabinet simulation, all that good stuff, or you can send it out to a power amp and your own speaker cabinet. Just lots of flexibility there. So anyways, thanks for hanging out with me in this comparison, and if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button to help my channel grow, and if you enjoy the content, hit the like button to get these videos out there to more people and feed that algorithm. All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.